Morning kiddies, or should I say afternoon, now it's already gone 12. You'll have to excuse me, your Uncle Spurt is running a wee bit behind today. I haven't even eaten yet, so I'm going to have to combine breakfast and lunch to save a bit of time. There we go. And while I get stuck in, let's have a jingle. Tech Spurt Weekly. Oh, much better. So next Wednesday, Call Pays Nothing is expected to yank open its tech Mac and jiggle a fresh new pair of true wireless earbuds in our general direction. The Nothing A2 to be precise, which already basically fully leaked in the usual internet-based shenanigans. But what I'm personally really excited about is the sequel to its surprisingly excellent smartphone, which should be launching sometime this summer. The original Nothing phone certainly made an impression when it launched around 8 or 9 months ago. This literally flashy blower stood out from the rest like RuPaul gyrating wildly in a room full of horrified nuns. And while that disco arse did feel a wee bit superfluous, it certainly did its job, and it made sure that YouTube tech tits like myself spooged ourselves into a sticky coma. It seems highly likely that Nothing is going to stick with the flashy Glyph shenanigans of the original, but web rumours do suggest that it will be upgraded to a customizable RGB effort for the Nothing Phone 2. Kinda like a mega-sized version of the Pulse Light which was slapped on the back of the Realme GT3, with different colours allocated to your favourite apps and contacts. Here's a glimpse of what could be in a snazzy wee concept video from 4RMD, and I'm sure you'll agree it looks pretty enough to boff senseless. So that's the outside bits covered off, but as my old mum used to say, don't worry about what those other wee bags at school say, sweetie, it's what's inside that counts. Actually, she never said that. She said, how the f can you be 14 and already going bald? Now, Cole already revealed at MWC 2023 that the Nothing Phone 2 would be powered by a Snapdragon 8 series chipset. And the most logical option seemed to be the 8 Plus Gen 1 from last year, which is still a beefy bugger, but not as expensive to use as the fresher 8 Gen 2. Well, don't worry about there being any mystery or anything about it, because you don't even need to ponder about which chipset Nothing is going to use. Because Qualcomm board Alex Katuzian already fully name-dropped the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 in a LinkedIn post, which was then swiftly blitzed like so many shameful late-night drunken confessions on Twitter. Wait, what the fuck? Delete! Probably safe to say that Alex has shifted from Colpay's Christmas card list to his list. But anyway, that beefy platform is said to be backed by 12 gigs of RAM in the Nothing Phone 2. So like other 8 Plus Gen 1 smartphones out there, it should merrily run any game you want on Android without metaphorically shitting its metaphorical pants. Not that the original Nothing Phone struggled much with the capable 778G stuffed inside, although you couldn't quite max out those Genshin graphics, and it should start to show its age rather sooner. And the latest web rumours also suggest a few other little changes for the Nothing Phone 2. So for instance, the 6.55-inch OLED display of the original phone is said to be slightly boosted in size for the sequel, with the same creamy smooth 120Hz refresh rate. Yum. And Call & Co are apparently boosting the battery size for the new one as well, if those leaks aren't just a soggy sack of cat turds. So that 4500 mAh battery should be increased in size to 5000 mAh. And given how energy efficient the 8 Plus Gen 1 is, and the fact you've got a fairly stock Android experience running on the Nothing Phone, you should expect all day play from that. No worries. I would also be surprised if they ditched the wireless charging as well, because that was quite a lovely USP to have at this sort of price point. And these somewhat tasty specs are also allegedly rounded off by 256 gigs of storage, stereo speakers, and an in-display fingerprint sensor. Oh, and good news for any Yanks out there who might for some reason still be watching this, probably in a very confused state right now. Because the Nothing Phone 2 will apparently be crossing the Atlantic unlike the original, so you too can be mesmerised by a bit of disco arse action. And as always, your Uncle Spurt will have his eye on that interwebs, looking for any more tasty leaks and rumours about the Nothing Phone 2, and hopefully have a bit of hands-on action for you as soon as that bad boy emerges. As for tech launches this week, well, they were mostly confined to Samsung spaffing out its fresh new Galaxy A34 and A54 mid-range mobiles. I've already done you a full, lovely hands-on review and comparison of these two affordable blowers, which went live on Wednesday. Twice in fact, because in the first edit I f***ed it up and confused which phone had which chipset. That'll teach your Uncle Spurt to down half a bottle of single malt before attending a briefing. Unfortunately, both phones are more expensive than last year's models, but you do get a bit of an upgrade when it comes to the processor tech. You've got the Dimensity 1080 and that A34, which should be able to run pretty much anything out there, including the good old Genshin impacts. Meanwhile, the Galaxy A54 is powered by another Samsung Exynos chipset. There's the fresh new 1380 and good things have been said, so fingers crossed it won't suck. Of course, it was the Exynos chipset in the A53 from last year which completely ruined that smartphone, but never mind, we'll give them another chance. So hopefully bring you a full unboxing review of those bad boys soon. And now it's time for the part of the show that can be politely described as man reads words off of a screen and tries desperately not to burst into tears. It's viewer comments! Viewer comments! So let's kick off this week with AJ Burdett, who says, the new, more relaxed swearing monetization rules are going to do wonders for this channel. I hope you make f***ing good use of them, Chris. Oh, you're right, I will, you f***ing lovely womble. Although I'm still not entirely convinced by it all, there's got to be some room for margin in there, because I've had perfectly legitimate videos demonetized when I've just used common street parlance such as twat and cum guzzler. Zippy Finley says, if it makes you feel better, Chris, in southern Ontario there are 15 plus centimetres of snow, mate. I mean, that just makes me feel even more of a dick for whining on about the half a centimetre we've had here. Oh, and he continues, keep up the investigatory journalism. Oh yes, all of that cutting edge research that I do. Next, Damien Lobb says, what smartwatch are you using? It sounds way better than my old Galaxy watch. Now this bad boy right here, it's the Xiaomi watch, which yeah, I've been testing it out for a good 2 or 3 weeks. In fact, I've done my full review of it, so go check that out if you are intrigued. And I've just kind of left it on there because I haven't had a good replacement come in for review. Got to say, really liking it so far. Like all the other Xiaomi watches I've tested, you've got almost a week of battery life, even with all of the options and tools and various modes turned on. Because yeah, usually when I stagger to bed half cut, it's a miracle if I even remember to plug in my smartphone, let alone a bloody watch as well. What I need is for those proper wireless charging pod things to actually become reality, the kind of stuff that Xiaomi showed off, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, where you just stick this thing on your nightstand, your desk, whatever, and it just beams electricity to everything within, you know, a couple of meters range. You don't have to worry about slapping it down exactly precisely on a wireless charging pad. And yeah, it might give you a brain tumour or two, but the added convenience is a worthy payoff. And speaking of Xiaomi, last week we did a good bit of chin stroking over the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, which is said to be launching soon and said to come with 90 watt wired charging. RMG says, the fact that 90 watt charging is now considered a bit crap for its price, even when it would have blown the media away if it was announced to work on any smartphone 2 years ago, is just mind-boggling to me. And Victor says, welcome to a world where 90 watts is considered whack. Gotta admit, it might have been slightly tongue-in-cheek when I said that 90 watt wired charging was a bit shit. I mean, personally, when it gets to the point where you can charge up your smartphone in under half an hour, I mean, that's good enough for me. That basically means you don't have to charge it all night long. You can just stagger out of bed in the morning, bung a cable in your phone, go for a quick shave and shower, and by the time you stagger out of the bathroom all refreshed, your phone is fully juiced up. That said though, I did just get this bad boy in the post from Infinix, 260 watt fast charging technology and 110 watt wireless charging, so I'm gonna hopefully get that tested out soon, probably just for like a shorts or something. But yeah, it's getting absolutely bonkers now. It's getting to the point where you can charge up your smartphone in less time than it takes you to scratch your ass. Next is Fuji X Girl, who says, I'm really hoping that the 13 Ultra will be bigger than the Pro. I've been using the gorgeous Huawei Mate 20X for the last few years, and I feel that these little 6.7 inches are way too small now. Way to make a bloke feel inadequate. I mean, I'm the opposite. I'm far too intimidated by these massive beastly smartphones these days. I mean, this thing here is nearly 6.8 inches and my pants simply cannot handle it. I'm getting poked in the friggin' pancreas every 3 seconds. Apologies for the obligatory crotch shot. I try and get at least one into every video, obviously. Next up, Masabi Gaming says, I hope they sort out their software so I can get another Xiaomi device. And Jason, not too impressed by a bit of MIUI either, says his next phone will either be an Oppo, a OnePlus, a Realme or a Sony. I mean, I can understand why people don't get on with MIUI. Personally, I think it's absolutely fine now, though that's probably more down to the fact that it used to be absolutely god-awful and now it's alright. I mean, it's basically like if I went to the doctor and the doctor said, sorry, Uncle Spurt, you've got cancer of the cock and balls and taint. Basically, your entire groinal region is just a festering tumour. And then I get on the bus home and halfway back I get a phone call. It's the doctor. He says, oh sorry, forget all that. What we meant to say was we found a verruca on your big toe. And what I'm trying to say is that basically MIUI used to be a buggy, unfriendly mess that just tried to make your life as miserable as possible. And now, thankfully, all those awful changes are gone, and what's left is a sort of fairly stock Android experience. You've got all the bits like the apps tray and the notifications that actually work that you didn't have before. And a lot of what is left is actually pretty decent. But yeah, as I say, I can understand it's not for everyone. Next up, more Xiaomi chat, super popular this week. Martin says, hey Uncle Spurt, just seen that Xiaomi plan on launching their own electric car in 2024. Next bloody year, that's soon, Christ. So fingers crossed for a review. I mean, I've got to admit, I'm always a little bit wary when it comes to first gen tech, as it's usually a bit buggy or glitchy. And when said tech is responsible for hurtling me 80, 90 miles per hour down a dual carriageway, that wariness is directly translated into soggy jeans. Did I say 80 or 90 miles per hour? I did of course mean 70 on the dot, the perfectly legal limit for any local constabularies who happen to be watching. Next up, Rob Langley says, how have you resisted changing the B on your chair to a G? I admire your restraint. Oh, I see, like ghoulies, right? I mean, to be honest, I've probably either never thought about it or just couldn't be arsed, one of the two. Which just also happens to be the answer to the question, why haven't I done anything with my life? Ez says, I finally bought my OnePlus 11 today. Shout out to Metrophone. Nice one. Hope you're enjoying, mate. Brother says, haha, you're sounding rough as a badger's arse. Yeah, I can't really argue with that, to be honest. Probably not helped by the fact that for this past month or so, I felt like I've been right on the precipice of getting a really, really bad cold. I've had like a bit of a sore throat, been all bunged up and stuff, but it's just never quite fully materialised. It's annoyed the living piss out of me for so long now that there's literally no piss left in me. I am utterly devoid of piss. Next up, A says, thanks for another entertaining video. Glad somebody enjoyed it. Just wondering if you or anyone reading this has any idea if or when Samsung will have a crash detection feature like the iPhone and Pixels. Christ, I'm not really sure I want Bigsby to have that sort of level of power, to be honest. You'll probably have ambulances all over you if you so much as fart. Cheddar Cheese says, why don't you check out the newly released Nubia Z50 Ultra? Ah yes, another 6.8 inch house. I think it's China only at the moment, but if I get the chance, I will certainly go all hands-on fondly with it. Mike B says, lies, there is no sober Chris. Look, I swear, alright, I am not permanently pissed. I do occasionally sober up for a couple of hours or so if I've got some serious to do. I just don't really like it very much, is all. And next up, SJSTU says, watching this week from an iPhone XR, it's actually quite good. Whenever someone says the words iPhone XR to me, I have this sort of Pavlovian style response where my scrotum climbs up back inside of my body and I get these hideous arse cramps like an angry beaver is desperately trying to chew its way out of my large intestine. Although to be fair, I think my main problem with the iPhone XR was the fact that at the time it cost about, what, 800 quid, 900 quid, and it wasn't any better than a £300 Android phone. You can probably pick it up for absolutely all these days, I would imagine. Oh, and if you are still watching this week's show on an iPhone XR, I'll just budge my head this way so I'm not semi-blocked off by a massive mustache notch. There we go, much better, you can actually see me. Anyway, massively out of time, but thank you so much to everyone who commented last week. Lots of fun reading through all those bad boys as always. Please do write out whatever is going through your lovely little brain down in the comment section below, and we'll try and smash our way through as many of those as possible next week. And speaking of next week,
this is about next week.
The next week, big launch is, of course, the Nothing launch on Wednesday, March the 22nd. It's going to be the earbuds. There's absolutely bugger all mystery left thanks to the internet and the usual leaky rumour stuff. But I don't really care because there's going to be a big launch event here in London with all of the free booze you can pour down your throat until you get violently ejected from the premises. And then following on from that, at the end of next week, I'm actually buggering off to Korea for a few days, courtesy of Samsung, on some sort of mystery trip. I say mystery because I have absolutely bugger all idea what I'll be doing out there. But I'm hoping it mostly involves hanging around bars drinking medically inadvisable amounts of soju, which to be fair is basically any amount of soju. But fear you not, any Techspert Weekly fans, they may actually be out there because I am planning on shooting and editing an episode before I clamber onto that plane and get shitted on tiny tins of Heineken for about 12 hours. So stay tuned for all of that fun times and possibly more, possibly not. Please do poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech. Have yourselves a ruddy, wonderful weekend. I love you guys so much. Mwah, mwah. Oh, the stupid shit that I do for this goddamn channel.